or whatever.
Yeah, because that's what I got from the record. And I mentioned to you, if early Smashing Pumpkins, not the crap that he's up to now, but if early Smashing Pumpkins and Nirvana and what was the third? I said Weezer because of that. I think that pop sensibility that you guys have. If those three bands had a love child, Violent Soho would probably be in the mix, probably, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, when we were growing up in the suburbs and stuff, that was the music that was handed to us by brothers or friends at school, and that's kind of why our band formed and played. We all have this love of this music.
Yeah, I mean, Kurt Cobain was dead, way before we ever heard of him.
I mean,
it was like
our memories of that
or something.
Is a myth to us. We read about Nirvana through books and magazines and watching the Nirvana Unplugged VHS over and over. But I mean, that's our connection with that. We actually didn't get to grow up with it.
Right.
And so, I mean, and then like James was saying, when we were going through high school, all of a sudden, all of this the good pop punk or the good hardcore stuff had turned into these Guns N' Roses tryhards.
Like the jocks all got into it, and it was like
no,
it totally glamorized it. It was not punk rock at all. So we just wanted to focus on the last time we remembered honesty in music, and really it didn't matter if anyone bought into it or if you were touring the world. You were just putting out honest music.
I mean, we were teased for 3 years.
Yeah,
and we played to no one for 3 years.
We were playing the most out of date music.
But that's what high school's all about anyway. Right? So you might as well.
Oh no, this was after high school. I mean, this was like that's when we all met and we were friends and stuff. But the first 3 years in Brisbane, we played in the local garage punk scene, and everyone, that's by that time it was the Strokes and whatnot, and everyone had a "the" in front of their name, and that's why we came up with the band name Violent Soho. We just picked the most random, pointless name, and we played to no one for 3 years because we weren't playing anything in vogue or in fashion, or that anyone was kind of like, who the hell plays anything that sounds like Weezer or Pumpkins? Who does that?
And when we say no one, when we say we played to no one, we literally mean no one for 3 years, and not just like 6 people. I'm sure bands, when they start out, they played to 6 people for maybe a year or something. 3 years, like, at least, And it didn't matter to us because we were just trying to, shove it in the face of, all the jocks trying to bite into the whole, hardcore punk rock thing. We were just like, well, look at this, we're doing, 90s stuff. So
let's move ahead from Brisbane to this 9 months of touring, and I guess the experience has been totally different than those days. How many rooms are packed now, right?
I mean it's being received quite well. I mean, I suppose it's hard to explain because we did go 3 years of touring. I mean, we drove to Sydney and Melbourne and still played in front of no one, but now we're driving from town to town and the music's out there. There's people showing up who know all the words to the songs. I mean, in Best Buy.
Playing with one of the most legitimate punk rock bands in the world today, the Bronx, who we, majorly influenced by and also love them as well. I mean, they're one of our favorite bands. So it's awesome that, all the kids that, turned into the whole glamorized thing would be so, jealous to be able to play with the Bronx. Right. And, we met them in Australia and they could see what we were doing, that it was a real punk rock aesthetic to it. They brought us out on the road, so it's absolutely awesome. And we toured with Dinosaur Jr. before the Bronx.
Wow, that was crazy.
Which is just,
Built to Spill, that was crazy.
Frank Black from the Pixies, we toured with him.
It's been a lot of crazy moments.
There was a lot of... Yeah.
Is this surreal? You mentioned that people are knowing your music before you show up, and that's probably because of the internet, right? And people just... I mean, how important has the internet been for your career? And how active are you
Important,
guys?
But not as important as word of mouth. But which I suppose, depending on how you view the internet, But, I mean, since we started, that's when the internet actually started taking over in terms of how people listen to music.
But not as important as what I'm sure it is for some bands. Like with us, we didn't have like what they call an online presence or anything.
Yeah,
because
that's a good point.
We didn't. I mean, we worked jobs and we weren't really interested in. We weren't the most ambitious band in the world. Let's just say that. I think we did our first band bio only a year ago or something like that.
We didn't have a Facebook till later.
Well, when you're playing in front of 6 people,
at that stage we were playing to 300 people, and it really started to build all through word of mouth in Australia. And we weren't not doing a band bio. We didn't have a Facebook, not out of trying to be cool or anything. It was just that we were just lazy.
Oh, there's a kind of there's a kind of thing to it too. Where people are saying to us, if you want to play in front of 200 people, you need a press kit. And we're like, what? And they're like, you need a press kit with your photo. And
press kit?
We're like, what do you mean you need a press kit? Like, why do you need a press kit to go to a venue? And we
we're
never
like-
made one.
and we're like, who writes
so
that?
Stuff it. We never made a press kit, and we still played in front of 200 people.
There you go.
And that sort of frustrated me. Like,
And bands would
that.
show you, what they send out to people, and it's like, they do this and this amazing show, and we're like, we're not going to write that about ourselves and send it out. Like, it's just not gonna. It's not us.
I just don't get it. If people come to the show and they like it, they gotta like it. They gotta remember it.
But it's a good story if you keep your head down, and just play music. That someone like Thurston Moore can find a band in Brisbane, Australia.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it still exists. By the end of the tour here last time when we did the showcase shows, we ended up playing for Rick Rubin in Hollywood, and he paid for us to stay an extra day and hired out the studio for us, and came and we played 8 songs for him. And so for a band that was independent in Australia, had never done a band by, never done a press kit.
Exactly.
You can if you just keep your head down and legitimately writing songs that you believe in, I guess people can still find it in the internet day and age.
I wonder how many press kits Rick Rubin really reads anyway.
Yeah.
Wheezes.
I mean,
It's weird. Let me ask you about one more track from the record, "Slippery Tongue," departure from the rest of the record in many ways. You wrote that, Luke?
yeah.
What's up? Why it's so different? It's so stripped down.
I think the main thing that makes it different is, one, it's slower, and two, the vocals are absolutely all clean.
Yeah.
It's the easiest song to sing because I didn't have to lose my voice to finish recording it. But I think that song's obviously about another relationship I went through, and it just ended up being that way. I think with songs, the way I write them is I just I'll sit with an acoustic guitar, and I'll come up with the guitar lines first and the melody first, and then I write the lyrics over months. Until, we used to do gigs and I'd make up lyrics on the spot.
For years.
As James would know, because he'd never know when to go to the next part, because I'd change the line. But, and that's another one where, I didn't have to finish the lyrics until we actually started demoing it. So the song was around for about a year until we actually had to demo it. And, there's no, like I said, with 4 or 5 years of songwriting, there's no intention of, we need this slow song on the record to break up the middle of the record.
Right.
Because, it's got to balance it out. There's none of that. We actually just put down the best songs we had in our whole past catalogue. And, and that's one of them. And, I think it worked out.
I think so. We hear a lot of bands from Melbourne and Sydney, which I think have burgeoning music centers now and close-knit music communities, and we mentioned a bunch of them before you guys sat down. But Brisbane seems to be a different creature, right? It's not a huge music community.
It's not a huge one, but I think it's a good one.
Yeah,
it is pretty big. It's just not as ambitious as Sydney or Melbourne. Like, you got to drive 1,000 kilometres or 1,000 miles to Melbourne, and because those cities take themselves a lot more seriously than what Brisbane does, it's a lot harder to get into playing shows in those towns. So bands in Brisbane really only play, to other bands in Brisbane, and there's a lot of bands that put out records that you'd never hear that are exceptional, and we're stoked to be one of the first bands to shed a bit of light on Brisbane, because there are so many good bands.
What are some of those bands if people want to check them out online?
Where do we start?
I mean, there's tons. Nova Scotia, Dick Nasty.
Nova Scotia is a band in Brisbane.
Awesome, man.
Eat Laser Scumbag. They're a band that got us our first local shows, because they found us playing one day, somewhere in the suburbs, and then they kind of said, "Hey, come play some shows in the city at somewhere where we do some punk nights and stuff." And then, they're a great band.
Butcher Birds is like the female equivalent.
They
of
got
us.
a release. You can buy that online.
Yeah,
they're good.
the Butcher Birds, they're really, really good, and they're playing a similar style to us with 3 chicks up the front.
They're like whole and breeders put together and having a baby.
Wow.
Yeah, they're
good.
awesome. I mean, seriously, the list goes on. If you go to our MySpace, all of our friends are really only Brisbane bands. So
and there's other bands that we play with the city of Melbourne. I'm not talking about Brisbane, but that kind of unheard of as well. That are amazing. Straight Arrows and Eddie.
Cool.
goes on.
Guys, thanks so much for taking the time. Really enjoy the record and continued success.
Thank you.
We'll hopefully see you soon again.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you so much for having us.
Cheers.